At the start of last year, as the pandemic, fear and uncertainty grew stronger, the federal government introduced a national wage subsidy.
Tonight, keeping a country in work. The government to spend $130 billion on wages.
Today, we are introducing a $1,500 per fortnight JobKeeper payment.
The policy was designed quickly as parts of the economy began shutting down. The government needed businesses to quickly embrace JobKeeper, so they held on to their staff and millions of workers weren't left unemployed. So when assessing eligibility, it allowed many to predict their future turnover. To qualify, a business needed to self-declare that turnover had already fallen by the required amount or predict turnover would fall to the levels required. For most businesses with revenue below $1 billion a year, they needed to have experienced or be projecting at least a 30% drop. Bigger companies turning over $1 billion or more a year needed to have seen or be forecasting at least a 50% fall in turnover, while for charities, a 15% reduction needed to have occurred or be on the horizon. About 1 million businesses signed up in the first 3 months. Every fortnight, the government paid these firms $1,500 to be passed on in full to more than 3 million workers.
We were staring into the abyss. And some countries have gone into that abyss. We have not.
JobKeeper supported workers through the depths of lockdowns in April and helped businesses reopen once normality started to re-emerge in May and June. So, at the end of the first 3 full months of JobKeeper, April, May and June, how did those businesses actually fare while having their wages subsidised by taxpayers? For more than 365,000 businesses and charities, turnover during those 3 months didn't actually fall below the threshold levels. That's about 40% of all employers that accrued JobKeeper during that period, accounting for about $12.5 billion in JobKeeper payments. That represents about 14% of the billions of dollars spent over the life of the scheme.
They have wasted more Australian taxpayer money on JobKeeper than has ever been wasted in any program before.
Federal Labor Shadow Minister Andrew Leigh has been monitoring JobKeeper from the start and obtained these new figures from the Independent Parliamentary Budget Office.
It was being splashed around like there was some sort of an Aladdin's cave into which businesses could just go and take out as many taxpayer jewels as they liked.
In our holiday parks, the revenue line not only completely dried up, but we made the decision that we would allow for cash refunds.
Simon Owen is the Chief Executive of Ingenia Communities, which runs 30 holiday parks along the East Coast. While 2020's lockdowns hit business hard, by the start of this year, coastal holidays were back in full swing, and the company decided it could refund some of the JobKeeper payments it received.
The best validation for me was, I remember a few days later just talking to the broader team about it, and they started applauding.
But the turnaround was even quicker in other businesses. Some firms that qualified for JobKeeper based on falling turnover bounced back between April and June, while others that estimated a fall in their turnover had their predictions proved wrong. For about 1 in 6 employers getting JobKeeper, their turnover actually rose during the 3 months to the end of June 2020 compared to the year before. That's more than 150,000 businesses. Those employers, in just 3 months, accrued more than $4.5 billion in wage subsidies.
It is morally outrageous that they were willing to let this extent of taxpayer waste go on without shutting it down. They saw the figures in real time. They had the numbers.
We put in place a scheme with JobKeeper that gave this country certainty at the most profoundly challenging period they've faced since the Second World War.
At Harvey Norman, we're here to help with us.
Sales at Harvey Norman franchises rose by about 30% between April and June last year, yet those stores and head office received millions in JobKeeper during the period. The stock exchange-listed retail giant is refusing to repay a cent.
But the Morrison government needs to be asking these firms to repay.
The Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg, declined to be interviewed or answer written questions for this story. He and the government have stopped short of demanding businesses repay JobKeeper they received.
Because that was never the legislated purpose of the program. The purpose of the program was designed to stem that tide of hundreds of thousands of our fellow Australians lining up outside Centrelink, and it was to end that fear we saw across the community at the height of the pandemic. That was not what they signed up to when they took the JobKeeper payments in phase 1.
Is it the right thing for companies to do?
Well, companies that have the ability to do should do it.
Overall, I think it was an excellent, government policy initiative. But yeah, I think probably as time went by, there could have been some tighter eligibility potentially had a look at.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.